Kim McFerrin was in 7th grade when she had her first asthma attack at school, on the soccer field.
And I kept sneezing, and the more I kept sneezing, the harder it was getting for me to breathe. And it got to the point where I couldn't breathe at all, and I knew my inhaler was across the street and on the other end of the school.
Her inhaler was locked in the principal's office because even though the school knew about her illness, it was against their policy for her to carry an inhaler with her.
I was actually afraid for my life. I didn't know, because I didn't know if I was going to get back in time to be able to use my inhaler or to be able to do anything to help me breathe. And it's just, when you can't breathe, you don't know what's going to happen.
Eventually, Kim's mother encouraged her daughter to sneak her medicine into class with her, which she did until she graduated from high school last spring. Across the United States, many schools have a strict zero-tolerance policy towards all drugs, even prescription medication. School administrators worry about being liable if a child misuses his inhaler or shares an inhaler with friends. Only 25 states have laws specifying that children must be allowed to carry their asthma drugs with them in class. Here in the emergency department at Children's National Medical Center, where I've worked as a physician for the past 6 years, asthma is the #1 diagnosis we see in our patients. And one of the most important ways to keep kids out of the hospital is to get them their medication immediately.
Every year, 5,000 people, both children and adults, will die from asthma attacks because their medication wasn't handy or because they weren't able to get proper medical care in time.
Congress is considering legislation that would encourage schools to let children carry their medication with them so they can treat themselves when they feel a potentially dangerous asthma attack coming on. But until new legislation passes, many kids and parents are on their own.
It doesn't get any better without the inhaler. When you have an asthma attack, you have to have it right there.
And our new medical contributor, Dr. Christina Johns, is with me here, as you saw, in the studio. And it is nice to welcome you to the show. We hope you're here with us many, many times.
Thank you very much.
But this is a story. I was surprised to hear this because when you've got asthma, you need these things right away. I mean, you just can't traipse down the hall to get it. You can't breathe. So what does a parent do with a child in a situation like this?
Well, I would say that this is a time where teamwork with your physician and the school officials is very, very important. Meet with the physician who prescribed the medicine for you, and then together approach the school to determine what care plan is going to work best for the child.
Well, but the rules are the rules at the schools. And if the principal says, no, I've got a rule, I can't let the child do this, what do you do? Do you tell the child to break the rules?
Yes, you don't give up is what you do, and you work with the school to try to develop what's going to work, whether that is calling 911. Remember that when you do that, that may take longer and be much more intrusive and not helpful as having the inhaler right there. My sense is that most schools want to do the right thing.
I'm curious as to why, I know there's a lot of disagreement about this, about why the number of asthma cases in kids is skyrocketing.
You know, likely that answer is multifactorial. Some people are postulating that more environmental pollutants are to blame. A certain reason is that we are becoming more successful at keeping very young premature infants alive. And as such, they're born with less developed lungs, but they live on to be healthy adults. But those less developed lungs often tend to result in asthma.
This is no small problem. As we mentioned, you are a pediatric ER physician, and you've had kids come in with asthma, and I suspect probably lost some.
Absolutely. Every year, a couple kids come through the ER door in full cardiac respiratory arrest, no heart rate, no pulse, not breathing, and die. That's hard for me when I know that just an hour ago they were doing just fine.
So they need those inhalers, and they need them nearby.
Right away.
All right. Dr. Christina Johns, see you soon again.
Great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.